appreciate that directional marker for people who are coming and touring around town, parking once and walking. So I wanted us to keep that in mind.
So I had a question that I failed to ask, or actually two. Has Caltrans actually finished the revisions to their encroachment process?
For the wayfinding sign?
Yes.
I believe they have.
Okay, that was that giant shift of the earth I felt. And are there any potential grant programs to fund the installation of a program like this?
Not that I have seen recently, but that could be something that we would be on the lookout for.
Okay. Curious. Councilman Blas?
That actually was a question that I wanted to ask, and you asked it first. But I was thinking that at least the gateway signs would seem perhaps it might be appropriate to use some TOT money for that. And I was wondering if there's any opportunity to, are there grants available through the county's tourism initiative, or would we, or perhaps maybe we could just consider using TOT money from our own coffers?
I'm not aware of county grants, but again, we could be on the lookout for any sort of help like that. And yes, I think it would be logical to use DOT money for at least some of this, because, for example, the one-way street confusion is by people not familiar with Sebastopol, and so it's benefiting visitors. And of course, the same can be true of pedestrian-oriented signs as well, that we want to connect these visitors with our businesses, and locals mostly know where things are, although not always.
And I think we want to promote the idea that people are in our city. They're here and they're in Sebastopol, and it's great, and they're gonna go and patronize our restaurants and our businesses, and not think that they're somewhere else. They're here, not in Forestville. They're here.
Yeah, there's a real opportunity for enforcing the city's identity, and that could be a standard thing, or it could be a quirky Sebastopol thing. And so that can be worked out.
And brings, I really liked the consultant's comments about unification. So this, one of the things we really need to work on is unifying our kind of bifurcated downtown. So we've really essentially doubled the size of our downtown, but we still keep calling one part of it the Barlow and the other part downtown, and we're not really thinking of it as our urban core. So what can we do through a signage program to get everybody circulating around the entire downtown and shopping there and walking there and et cetera?
I think, well, just another comment. I think signage could be designed in a way so that it actually would slow down traffic. And I'm not sure of the planning words to use for this, but if you think, like you were saying, we have signs that identify our business area, and I would actually want to include north and south, the whole thing. We're telling people you're coming into a small town, you're coming into a downtown. So, oh gee, there's traffic here. Oh, it's slow here in our downtown because we wave to people, right? We're looking at our businesses, we're checking out who's on the sidewalk. I think it would have a very nice effect of, I can't think of the word, sort of really localizing the traffic, giving it its own ambiance that's appropriate with the ambiance of the town that has signs like that. And small town, whatever is the image, old town, big town, I don't know exactly what we would choose as an image, but I think could have a really great effect where people entering the area would understand they're going to go slowly. you know, instead of the speedway sort of look that we have now, where you're at the United Methodist Church and that intersection, you can see all the way down, you know, to Palm Avenue and want to step on it. It's the sort of remark that the SDAT made too.
Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this item? All right, close public comment. So the council is being asked to make a decision on essentially the 3 different phases, and the potential consultant said that there could be a, I assume, modest revision if we decide to move forward with all 3, and there would be, I assume, modest revision means a slight cost savings to the city. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the comments, let's see, oh, Robert, as well as the CIR, he also forwarded some comments on this item as well, and he is in favor of moving all 3 components of this forward, which are the revision of the current wayfinding design and standards, and then the second task is to create a strong pedestrian-oriented and pedestrian-scaled sign set. And then the third task is expand the current program and add the sign components for the gateway signage, public facility identification signage, park signage, and parking, and wayfinding relating to parking. So I think that I too am in favor of moving all 3 of them together as a package. I think that that just makes sense so that we're not down the road and piecemealing one or more of the additional components. So that's where I am on this item. I'm not sure about the funding. I like the idea of perhaps the TOT. We do need to identify a funding source this evening if we move this forward. Is that correct?
Well, one option would be for that really, if we hear that council's in consensus to move forward, that then you direct staff to work with the consultant and bring back a somewhat revised proposal, and which we could put on the consent calendar, and at that time also
We could identify
the funding, and you could review and approve that.
Very good. Further discussion?
Well, do we need a motion to do that?
Yes.
Okay, then I would move that we direct staff to work with Sue LaBouvie, I hope I said that right, at Studio Lamage, for a revised proposal that would include all of these 3 elements, and bring it back to the council
And identify funding.
with the funding identified.
Okay. I don't know if you said that, but I missed it if you did.
I just said it, thank you.
Very good. Is there a second?
I will second that. Will there be discussion?
Then we'll have some discussion right now.
Can I discuss?
Please.
I just want to say with the funding source, as a member of the budget committee, I don't want to see us stray from our budget in the middle of the year before we have gone through our, let's reevaluate where we are, because we kind of have agreed that we're going to go through 6 months under our current budget, and then we're going to revisit where we are in terms of revenue and expense, and then decide if we're going to do some tweaks. So I'm going to be budget Nazi here and say I would like to stick within our current budget, except if we have an untapped fund source out of TOT money or some other source that's not going to be significantly impacting our budget, so we're breaking our existing budget commitment, then I will support, I think we really need to do this, but I don't want to let our budget situation get out of control.
I think we could maybe address that, if this were to come back in January. I believe the budget 6-month review is a January time. We have a couple of items you want to talk.
Yeah, that was right. That was what I was going to say, thank you.
I was doing that math as well, thinking
Yeah.
about the timing.
Yeah, that's why
City
the
Clerk?
planning director met with the finance director this afternoon. She's quite confident we could use the traffic impact funds if needed for all three tasks, and it would not affect budgeting and use of those monies that are projected in the future. We have a sufficient time lag, in her opinion, to replenish that fund in the meantime, so that there would be no adverse impact to the use of the traffic impact fund. I wanted to do that this afternoon because it was sort of left open as to where the money would come from, but I think that would address your concern there, and certainly staff and any other supplemental money will make sure that it's within our existing budget and we don't mess things up going into mid-year budget again.
Yes, I looked at the fund balance report that we recently received in conjunction with this item, and I thought, well, there's no way I would support it coming out of the general fund. And looking down the list, I think the TOT is an inspired choice. So we'll see how that, I'm not sure what the balance is on that one, but we'll look at that. So any further discussion on this? Then I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. No opposed? And that ends our regular calendar agenda items at 7:57. City manager, city attorney, or city clerk reports.
Just promised I would mention that we, the planning director and I met yesterday with representatives from KOWS, our local FM station, relative to helping them place a small aerial on some city-owned property up on Pleasant Hill. That's going to be coming back to, we've identified and worked with them on a process they would follow for that, and that will be coming back to your November 3 agenda.
All right. City council reports. Councilmember Lutz.
I would like to report on the Mayors and Councilpersons Association meeting that I attended, and as the only representative of Sebastopol, I did participate in that board meeting. There was an item put forward that I won't be at the board meeting next time because the mayor or vice mayor will be sitting in my place, but you should know, there was an item brought forward that the Mayors and Councilmen's Association has a great deal of gravitas and ability to move things forward. So there was a suggestion that the Mayors and Councilmen's take up maybe 2 or 3 specific issues to work on and to try and move forward. And I said I would bring that to my council and see if our city wanted to support this idea. The idea would be that the mayors and councilmen would support some specific agendas to move forward in the county. My comment at the board meeting was I thought I personally would support mayors and councilmen's taking on issues that are specifically about the jurisdictional ability of our city to function as a city. So in other words, have mayors and councilmen attack, that's a bad word, but review issues and pursue issues that have to do with us as municipalities' inability to move issues forward because we're being thwarted by the state, we're being thwarted by the county. In other words, the power in a united front by us municipalities is not letting us be at the bottom of the food chain and getting kicked around by those other bigger guys on the block. So I think that's a really appropriate use of mayors and councilmen to say, wow, we're getting an unfunded mandate from the county to do blah, blah, blah. Or the state is asking us to pursue X, Y, Z, and we may not have the resources, or we don't have enough public information about that particular thing, and let's get information out there to the public. So I thought that would be a really appropriate use of mayors and councilmen. I'm not so sure about specific issues, because I don't know if our city's gonna agree with other cities about specific issues. So to me, that would seem like the appropriate kind of framework for mayors and councilmen taking a stand on specific issues, those kinds of issues. But anyway, that was my thought, and they had really good food.
Oh, darn. We missed a good food event.
Yeah.
So I have some thoughts on this, but I'm just wondering if this is the time to have a discussion, or if we need to agendize something, or how do we
It
get into
seems
this
to me we
issue?
do need to agendize this, because it's not on the agenda, but I'm reporting what has occurred, and we need to think about it as a council, how we're going to participate.
Yes, we should add that to the agenda. Now, sometimes we do it under council reports and create kind of a small agenda item under that topic. Possibly that's one way to do it. And maybe also in the future, we can try and do that from time to time when we have these kinds of reports, and we'll create kind of a little decision item under council reports. But we'll bring it back.
Okay.
Nice suggestion. All right. We have a written report.
We have a written report for me. That's really hard for me not to talk about this right now. Having served as the vice chair and program coordinator for that group and the chair of the group previously, so you can tell I have a lot to say about it. So
You can talk about
I can right
it. Yes,
now.
the point of making the decision, it's not agenda.
Okay. So I think we saw an example tonight of how there are some issues that are regional, where if we're looking at information and education, we can all do that together.
Right.
You know, and have a presentation on TRLs, every city in the room, and we can then have a lively debate about it, or discussion, so that if some city is ahead of us, we can find out what they're concerned with. That, I think, would be really meaningful, a more meaningful event for us all to attend. I think it's important too that the issues get out to the general membership and not just be in the was it city select committee or the board meeting? You know, so that it's out on the floor and we have much more deliberation. I think there are going to be issues that where the cities may have a different experience than the county, and it's important for us to dial in on our perspective and experience of those issues. I'm thinking, for instance, of the Dutra asphalt plant at the border there of Petaluma, and that conflict between the county not respecting the city's general plan and its design for its boundary. So I think we're going to have to be careful about what issues come that way, because if it's just a matter of the group voting, we could be outvoted and shut down. So I think there's got to be a further discussion of this and what we would recommend go forward to that group.
And it can't just simply be, well, we have this panel, we need to discuss and vote on something. It needs to be specific items, and if there are no items that are big, that involve the opinions of all cities, then we don't need to do busy work. That group doesn't need to do busy work.
So I just want to put a few highlights out from my written report on the SCTA RCPA meeting. First, we recognize Sue Kelly in her career-long contributions to the county, as well as the city of Sebastopol. And there's a quite lovely, lively resolution here that I think is very descriptive of Sue. I just want our council to know she has a number of colleagues at the county level who regard her quite highly and appreciated her professional contribution over all those years. So I was quite honored to read that aloud and present it to her. We took pictures and everything. I want to highlight too the discussion about electric vehicles. There was a comment I thought that was really resonant for this community, and remarks that I've heard here, and that is the democratization of electric vehicle use. There is this tension that cities are subsidizing people who are wealthy enough to buy a new car and buy an electric vehicle, whereas not everybody can make that purchase and then have their energy free or subsidized in some way. So the RCVA is working further on that and creating a plan to have, what do you say, like a whole effective network so that EV travel will be easier all around. Also, there was mention of Measure M and the funds that have been distributed over the last several years with Sebastopol's Street Smart crosswalks being highlighted as one of the successes of that program. And then as to our Highway 12 Laguna Bridge project, they indicated that it's possible in November the new bridge will be opened for travel. So we'll move from the old bridge where we're in those two squeezy lanes, and we'll be on the new bridge in wider lanes, waiting for the next bridge to be built next year. I looked at it today, I'm going, wow, that looks like an ambitious schedule to me, and maybe they'll make it, we'll see. You're nodding, Kenyon, I wonder if you've heard anything more.
Just
lately.
that's the
Yeah.
plan, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm. Any communications to report? Future meetings are noted. We will be moving to a closed session. So before we adjourn the regular meeting, I will ask if anybody has public comment on our closed session. Please come forward.
Hello again, Michael Carnacki, Murphy Street. With regard to the people that I've spoken to with this Sebastopol Alliance for Neighborhood Improvement, I think it's a matter of just code enforcement, I think, more than anything else. And I just want to highlight that the city of Sebastopol is a little bit lax in code enforcement. For example, when I opened up my business in 22 years ago, I had to go before the design review process with regard to my sign. I think I paid something like $500, I think was the fee. Now I notice all these businesses are popping up everywhere, the signs are going up. Half of them, I mean, I don't think the majority of them are not going through the proper channels in order to do that. And I think that we have sandwich boards all over the place. So I think that maybe in your discussions you might want to consider how Sebastopol as a whole should like have code enforcement to enforce the different codes, because I think, you know, what applies to one should apply to all. But that's, yeah, without so that's, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment on closed session? Okay, then we will adjourn to closed session.